Happy Wednesday evening. Welcome on in, everybody, to another episode of D-Backs Dispatch. Tonight, just two of the normal three hosts, as our man Brandon has some prior engagement that he's doing right now. So, Brandon, hope you're having a great night, my friend. We will miss you. But me and Gabe will kind of, bring in the excitement of the new season, because it is a day that we have all been waiting for. It's a day that at least I know myself, and I imagine a lot of you guys in the comments as well, and those of you listening at home probably had this day circled on your calendar. It is pitchers and catchers report day. It's the day where we finally get, a bunch of videos of especially new faces, older faces that we've missed, get to just hear the sound of, the crack of the bat, the sound of, 90 plus mile an hour, 95 plus mile an hour heaters, snapping into the glove. It's a beautiful time of the year, and we are so back. We've never been more back. You might say we are so D-back. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. I tweeted that a little while ago. It was a banger. I'm going to put it on here. But yeah, so we are back again. It is a beautiful time. Like I said, back for another episode for you guys. If this is your first time here joining us, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. It really does help in the algorithm, gets us out into a bunch of new faces and all that. Make sure you guys join the Discord as well, as long as following us on Twitter and Blue Sky. All three of them are free. You don't got to pay to get access to Discord. And we'll have a little bit of a teaser, a little more information on that and why you're going to want to be in there at the end of the show, so stick around for that. But also make sure you guys go check out all the content over on azsnakepit.com. A bunch of great articles, especially I know starting today, it seemed like there's a few more on there. And then as we get closer into the season, get through some spring training games, as well as us, we do a lot of, post series. You guys that were with us last year, we do a lot of like post series recap streams. So we'll have like recap articles, kind of like stuff like that going up on the site. So make sure you guys go check out azsnakepit.com. Say, Cruz, he said he had prior engagements. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing, but you get to deal with us tonight for the time being. So we'll welcome in our resident troll of the evening. Appreciate seeing you as well. But Gabe, before we kind of dive into the, the main topics and everything that we have here, we have a fun show for you guys. But before we kind of dive in, how's your excitement level? How would just, pitchers and catchers report day? Like I said, it's a day that a lot of us have circled on our calendar. How just hyped are you that we're finally back? I know we're still a week or so away from actual games in spring training happening, but what's your hype level going into pitchers and catchers report day?
I guess to quote Josh in the comments, just like my will to live, spring training is finally back. And that's how I feel every spring training. Like once this starts, once pitchers and catchers report, it feels like, okay, finally, like life has restarted. Like I know we don't have, the same tough winters that a lot of people do, with the snow and everything, but still when you, get out of work, I mean, I get out of work early, I get out at 2:30, but still I get home from work and suddenly it's dark at 5. And at that point you just want to like go to bed and just fall asleep or something. Like your night and day is just over at that point. And once you get to this time, 6, it starts to get a little dark, but you're just excited because you're like, all right, so now spring is starting to come around. The sun is out a little bit later. The sun is out earlier in the morning as well. So it doesn't feel as dark all the time. And it's not as, I mean, it's still cold, but it's cold in a good way. It's not like that harsh winter in January, the long ass month. It just never ends. But yeah, so it's great that spring is finally here and spring training is here. It's always exciting. Even when the D-backs were bad, I was still always got excited. I still listened to the coverage from 98.7, even though I know it pains them. Like I said in our group chat, like I know it pains them not to be able to, do microaggressions against Kyler Murray the whole time. But it's fine. Like it's great to hear the interviews with some of these guys. And if you guys ever get the chance, just it's great to be able to listen to 98.7 on this specific day because they have a lot of interviews with a lot of guys. They interviewed Fott, Ryan, Torrey, Mike Hazen. We think we might have some quotes from them coming up as well. So, it's always exciting time. Like other than opening day, this is probably the most exciting time of the year.
Yeah, so it's I know obviously like I said, games haven't started yet, but every team starts with a clean slate. Get to see, I mean, obviously, we even have some videos and some clips and stuff that we'll kind of show throughout the show. But it's just nice seeing some new faces, like I said before, like Burns and all that. Uh the 98.7 interviews are always, you make a great point. They're fun. It's just nice to hear kind of the excitement in everybody's voice, whether it's the managers, the GM, or just some of the players coming through. So it's definitely just a good time of the year, even though it is kind of funny that it just happened to be one of the only overcast days in the last like few months. Like I do agree. I don't like, we might not have the winters like my family does in Wyoming sometimes, and like some of the other like colder states where they're still getting snow on the ground. They're still having to worry about like 20, 30-degree weather. We definitely haven't had that as of late, or I don't think it ever really. But it's just funny that of course it was a little bit chilly today. It was overcast, so maybe not quite baseball weather or spring training weather, but at least with the forecast, as long as everything stays true, we'll have some nice, bright, sunny days coming up in the next few weeks. So hopefully, for that first spring training game, it'll be perfect weather. I'm gonna try to make it out there. I don't know about you, Gabe, or anybody else in the comments as well. I know V. Shout out UV pitchers and catchers reported, and now I'm reporting for duty, aka watching D-backs dispatch. Appreciate you. Appreciate everyone else tuning in. Like I said, either in the live show or listening after. Cam, need some Monty interviews footage. I did see in our Discord, which again, join the Discord. Little teaser on that later on why that's going to be beneficial to you. Again, don't want to just spoil that or give it away yet, but I did see in there that I think it was on like the news. They had a reel of Jordan Montgomery, so he was there. He was indeed at pitchers and catchers report day, but it didn't look like he was in full uniform. So I'm not sure if we got the bullpen from him. I assume, like Gabe and I were talking about before our show, we'll probably get that in the next day or so. As obviously more guys, like we'll probably get some Justin Martinez, uh, even other guys like maybe Eduardo Rodriguez, Tommy Henry. I know they were out there. I know Erod was out there a few days before, kind of getting in some work before the official report day. But we will get some more videos trickle in and get the hype built up even more as we, kind of fully get into spring training here. But we'll at least fully start getting into the episode here today. This is something that I know a lot of people had on their minds, something we talked about throughout the offseason, because it is the rotation and the expectations of the rotation. So the D-backs are having 7, potentially 8+ arms going into these spring training, warm-ups, games, and all that. Just fighting for just 5 spots. You got Gallen, Burns, Kelly, Erod, Monty, Fott, Nelson, and then Henry, and then potentially even a guy like Blake Walson, Christian Mena, Gilbert Diaz. So there's a lot of guys. Definitely some of them they're going to be, left out. Probably, like I said, the last like 3 or 4 I mentioned, probably going to be starting in Reno, if not. But there's a lot of names to only fill in 5 positions. And I know a lot of us were expecting a Jordan Montgomery trade throughout the offseason, or just in general, some kind of trade, whether to address the bullpen, like back end of the bullpen issues that we'll also kind of touch on a little bit later here in tonight's show. But there was an interesting quote here from Mike Hazen, like Gabe said, on the Brickley and Marotta show today, where he said, quote, "I think I'm 0 for 25 on getting out of spring training with 5 starting pitchers you think you have. It just goes the way it goes," which definitely, very valid point. You can never predict injuries. Even today, there's a few pitchers around the league that already went down with a few, I don't think major issues, but a few minor things to where it's something that no matter how healthy you are, no matter how much you think you're ready, sometimes just that first windup, that first pitch, and your body's like, "Whoa, slow down there, cowboy. I'm not ready for this." But my question to you, Gabe, is, obviously with these, 7, 8+ guys trying to go for these 5 spots, who do you see being among the 5 starting pitchers once spring training is wrapped up? Then obviously, what are your expectations going into the 2025 season regarding these, arms that we have kind of vying for these spots?
So I guess it's all going to come down to injuries. Like last year, I think we all expected Erod to be in the rotation, but he went down, I believe, like the first actual week of spring training. I think he only threw like 4 innings, and then he was just out until later in the season, and he just never was able to recover. And I believe a week from now, it's going to be like a year that we signed Jordan Montgomery as well. So at that time, I remember thinking, like, okay, so it's going to be Gallon, Kelly, Erod, and then Fought, and then somebody else. And then, we were discussing, it's going to be Ryan, it's going to be, this other person or whoever it was that we were talking about at that time. So again, just like Mike Hazen, we're 0 for 25 and trying to figure this out because, like you said, injuries happen and they, like no one's immune to it. Like just as the Dodgers, like I said, the they showed all these clips of Yamamoto and Sasaki and Snell, all these guys, and like, oh my god, this rotation. I'm like, none of these guys are going to pitch over 150 innings, but they also have 10 guys there who can pitch at least 100 innings, so they at least got their covered, for the rest of the season. I think that's something that the D-backs have to be aware of as well. Like Gallon, I don't know. I mean, he was relatively healthy last year. He was injured for a bit of time, but he still got up to 165 or so innings. But Merrill Kelly, he's not getting any younger. Erod, same thing. He's not getting any younger. Montgomery was injured. These guys really, really have to stay healthy, and I think that would be the rotation that they're looking forward to is to be Gallon, Kelly, Burns, and then Erod and Montgomery. And like I've said before, like I'll defend Jordan Montgomery. I do think he's still a really good pitcher. I think the back of the baseball card isn't lying on him. I do think he still has a lot to give. And apparently, according to reports and what some people are saying, even though he was like Sasquatch, nobody really got any real good footage of him. But apparently, he's looking really fit. He kind of is looking in the same sort of shape as a guy like Mantiply or something. Not Aroldis Chapman level of buff, but he's looking pretty fit. So hopefully he's able to stay in shape for the rest of the season. And that's how he's looking so far. Hopefully he's able to perform. Although, according to Lance Lynn, mass equals gas. So hopefully he doesn't lose a couple of miles per hour on that fastball. But I do think that's more or less what it's going to be. I don't think Hazen's going to pull the trigger on any trades just yet. I think we're maybe a little too late into the season. If he was going to pull a trade off, it would have been in December at the winter meetings. And I think at this point, they just want to see what everyone's got. If Montgomery is looking really, really good, he has a lot of good movement on his fastballs and his off speed. He's locating it right. Same with Erod, Fod, Nelson. Like if these guys are looking really good and really healthy, I don't think they're going to get traded. The only thing I can honestly see happening is maybe Erod getting traded just because he does have the more friendly deal. But again, that probably wouldn't happen until a little bit later in the season, maybe, if anything. But I do think it's a good problem to have as of right now. Like, yeah, I remember in that 2021 season and 2020, like going into those seasons where we no longer had Greinke, Corbin, Robbie Ray, like our mainstays, suddenly just being like, so who's in this rotation? It's like, oh, okay, it's Kelly and Gallon and a
A
bunch of
bunch of just
guys.
anybody that could throw over, like you said, 100
Yeah,
innings. Anybody.
anybody who can get the ball over the plate, like Dallas Keuchel. Like we were just scraping the bottom of the barrel
Oh
for
god,
such
I
a long
forgot about
time.
him.
So just the fact that we and Zach Davies as well. Like we had so much just garbage here for a while, and this is a good problem to have. We have elite starting pitching here, and I think this is probably the most elite group of guys that we've ever assembled. Even those early 2000 years, or Red Johnson, Kurt Schilling, they're a great 1-2 punch. But after that, there's a lot of good guys, not great or elite guys. I think Corbin Burns, any other team in the league, he's number one. Gallon, Kelly is probably number two, number three. Montgomery, easy number two, number three, and Erod, easy number two, number three. Like this is probably the best rotation in baseball, and that's without counting guys like Fott or Nelson. I think either one of these two guys is going to be sent down to Reno to start the year, and I think Nelson's going to be put in the bullpen because he just has the arsenal to be in the bullpen just because he's mainly a two-pitch pitcher, and at least Fott has a few more pitches than him. And Nelson can also get up to 99, even to 100. I've been watching some of his starts from last year. He was pumping 99. So give him a short spurt, 2 or 3 innings at most, or 1 inning. This dude can get up to maybe 100 as well. So I can see the main rotation just being, Burns, Gallon, Kelly, Erod, and Montgomery. And then, all moved around in some sort of way.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. Obviously, we know how he got his nickname Big Game Brandon in 2023. There's one of the reasons why we even made it to the World Series. his legendary performances in the NLCS. Obviously, we'll always remember that. But I think it's like you said, just echoing and kind of just agreeing with what you said. It's a good problem to have, being able to have guys, because you're never. I don't think any team. I could be stand corrected if anybody in the comments has the information for me. Feel free to let me know. I don't think there's really been any team that's made the playoffs and gone on, whether it's deep in the playoffs or to actually win the whole thing in the World Series, without having some kind of pitching injury to their rotation. I mean, I know last year, like you said at the beginning of that, the Dodgers last year, they didn't have many guys that went over 150 innings, but they had at least plenty of guys that could give them innings. The Rangers in 2023, I believe the reason why they went out and got a guy like Jordan Montgomery was because, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer. Obviously, Max Scherzer a little past his prime. Jacob deGrom, one of my favorite pitchers to watch when he's locked in, but his elbow was just not having fun. So two guys right there, they both went down. They kind of had to do some patchwork throughout the season. I believe they, like Eovaldi was, I don't know if they traded for him that season or if they got him before, but Eovaldi was a nice addition and was really solid for them. But every team I feel like that wants to compete, you have to have depth, especially at their starting rotation position, because it's not natural for like this motion of throwing a baseball is not natural. That's why you see in like softball and stuff, teams that only have like two pitchers, because doing that motion in a softball windup is like your shoulder is fine. Your shoulder's like, this is what I'm supposed to do. But throwing a baseball is not natural. It makes you like, that's why we get, we as say like I'm an actual pitcher anymore. That's why baseball players get like soreness in their arm, because it's like a workout every time you throw. Like you're gonna get tired throughout the season. 162 games, putting in 30 starts a season, you're gonna get tired. And I would hate to, have it affect the confidence of a guy like Ryan Nelson or Brandon Pfaadt to either be sent down to Reno or put into the bullpen. But I think it's one of those where it's probably going to only be for this season. Obviously, Jordan Montgomery is probably not going to be here after this year. Who knows about Zach Gallen? That's been a topic that we've talked about for the last like 2 years or so. He could be gone. So there will be some more spots available for those guys. So if anything, maybe it'll just kind of do a little Dre Jameson. It'll put some fire in their blood, which we got some Dre content, for you guys. But one of the things that I think is the biggest key, kind of staying on the health aspect, is this guy right here. He is going to be big, do anything this season as long as he can stay healthy, because he's been an innings eater. He's been healthy for a while, but just getting this kind of arm added to the rotation and kind of anchoring him with Gallen, like you said, this is probably one of the most elite groups we've had. Obviously, Randy and Schilling from the 01 season, it was them, and then a bunch of like decent to like not terrible arms in the rotation to kind of work with. But the names that we have here, and like I said, the Burns, the Gallen, Merrill Kelly's, I feel like one of the more underrated starting pitchers in the game, as long as he's healthy and isn't dealing with the cramping issues. Please, for the love of God, Merrill, eat a banana and drink some water. I'm begging you. Get some electrolytes in you. This is one of the better rotations we have. It's just we got to avoid any kind of injuries, and if we can, then at least that's still a good thing. But we do have some of those guys, like mentioned previously, Brandon Pfaadt, that we could throw in the rotation, and then even if Ryan Nelson, like I think we'll kind of dig in. That'll kind of like lead into my next point in a second here. But Ryan Nelson, if he can go into the pen and if he's okay with it, and he can kind of like make sure he's locked into like opening and unlocking that kind of like extra aspect to his game, whether it's like speed, a little more velocity. Maybe he does develop a third pitch over the offseason that we didn't know about. That kind of gives him an edge. We're not sure, but I think this is just a good thing for the D-backs in general. V was saying in the comments, she's on your side, Gabe. She's saying now it's official. I'll defend Monty again just to stay positive. And I agree. I know you've said it multiple times. I think it's nice to still have a lefty in the rotation. I think you still got to have some balance in everything, and he still does bring that balance to the team. So I'm definitely okay with keeping Monty here. Josh is saying that Jeff Passan goes over that entire concept of unnatural throwing is boom, the arm. Josh has got to bring up the arm any chance he gets. I still haven't read it yet, but I've been getting in a little reading mood, so I'll have to kind of dive into that a little bit. And then our man Jeff, appreciate you. Shout out to you, another Discord member as well, which again, I'm going to say it as much as you can because I'm going to tease it as much. Join the Discord. Make sure you guys join the Discord before Friday, or at least, going into Friday. It's going to be pretty important for you guys. But Jeff saying hot take, Monty is back, and his struggles last season were for the best because no way we're going to be able to sign him if he decline the option. And that's a good point. Maybe it's just a masterful gambit by Mike Hazen and Ken Kendrick. Maybe they gave him a little bit of extra food here and there throughout the offseason. Maybe they were, a little bit light on him because they, were looking at it long term in the, the case of like an extra season. But who knows? Maybe that was the key. Maybe Jordan Montgomery's been on the same kind of diet that I have been, where he's like, you know what, I'm gonna drop some of these pounds. I'm gonna get in better shape. He's definitely still in a better shape than I am because I cannot go out there and throw, even probably over 80. I don't think I've ever been able to touch 85 in my life. But if Lance Lynn is saying that mass equals gas, let's hope it's the complete opposite for Jordan Montgomery, because last year he gained a mass, but he lost a few miles per hour on his sinker and fastball and just was not the same guy. So maybe that works for Lance Lynn, but I don't think it works for Jordan Montgomery. And I'm hoping that we kind of see a 2023 Monty as opposed to 2024, because we've talked about before. We don't need to touch on it really much. He was not great, but overall,
Yeah.
not a terrible option for the D-backs to have this kind of situation going on with the rotation. We'll kind of see how it plays out throughout spring, whether maybe somebody does get hurt eventually. I know last spring training, Eduardo Rodriguez got hurt pretty early, so he missed, like, I think it was like midway through spring. He missed 3 months before he even came back. So no matter what you do, you can never avoid it, it seems like. So hopefully we can, fingers crossed, and knocking on wood as well.
Yeah.
D-backs avoid it at all costs, but I think it's just gonna be something that we'll kind of see play out a little bit throughout spring as we go along. But another area of the team that I think will have to play out through spring, something that the D-backs didn't really necessarily make an addition or address like they did with, getting Corbin Burns. They didn't make a big signing. They didn't make a big trade, was the bullpen. And that's something that Mike Hazen himself, whether it was in the Advantage members Q&A or just in a lot of the, articles, a lot of the interviews, he said he was still trying to address the DH and the back end of the bullpen. They already got the DH. They brought Grichuk back. They have Naylor, who can kind of, slot in there if they ever want to put Pavin at first, give Naylor a day off of his feet. So the DH is good, but the back end of the bullpen was still something that we have yet to see him fully make that big. Big is a relative term because, any kind of, clear addressing of the issue, I feel like would solve it. But like I said, the D-backs haven't had any major signing or trade to address their closer back end of the rotation, or back end of the bullpen situation. My apologies. And with not many names left in the free agent market, I know Kenley Jansen just got scooped up the other day. A few other names like Tyler Alexander, I think, went to the Brewers today. That Nugget was reporting on in the Discord. So there's not really many guys left in the free agent market. My question to you, Gabe, and obviously everybody else in the chat that's following along and listening to us, whether you're in the live chat, let us know your answers, or if you're on the YouTube side, or even listening to this on Spotify, comment on YouTube, join in the Discord, let us know your answers. We always like to hear from you guys. My question is, do you see the Snakes making some kind of trade or signing within the next week? Like you mentioned earlier, we did sign Monty around this time, so it's not like the offseason's fully over. There still is some room to add to this roster. Or do you think that before the games, before the games start, maybe we do something? Or do you think that the closer role is going to be kind of handed to somebody that's already in-house, whether it's a name like Justin Martinez, AJ Puck, guys that were kind of swapping back and forth last year in the closer role a little bit before the end of the season, or maybe even a guy that's coming back like Dre Jameson, maybe a guy you mentioned earlier, Ryan Nelson. Like, do you think it's going to be something handled in-house, or do you think there's still some room for the D-backs to kind of play their cards right, maybe make a trade here and there? Maybe there's a guy that we're not thinking of that they can go sign that can address these issues. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts.
So I guess in terms of like the first part of the question, if there's something that's going to happen in a week, I don't think so. Just for the guys that would be available. Like I know Cardinal said Helsley is not available, but again, you give him the right offer, maybe he would be suddenly. But again, someone like Helsley, that's a guy you get and at the trade deadline. If you're only a couple of real moves away from being true contenders, being able with the Dodgers and stuff like that, like that's a move you make. But early on, like right now, I don't think so, just because of the cost. It would just be way too high. And I know I've said before, you can't be too precious with your prospects, but I don't want them to, trade Jordan Lawler for Helsley at this point in the season and then just have Jordan Lawler ball out in St. Louis, and you're looking at, the rookie of the year in St. Louis suddenly, and, we can have a great closer, but I would still maybe just have Lawler here just in case. But I think, in terms of Maybe Tori not naming the guy. He has been non-committal just this entire time that he's been here until we've had an actual closer. Like he named Boxberger. Um,
That's a name I'd never
and
want to hear. Please,
yeah,
never again. Never
and
again.
like when Melanson, like when they've gotten closers, he'll name him closers. But when there's times like this when the closer's unavailable, he just kind of refuses to name closers for whatever reason, and I don't understand why. And I know I can maybe see the mentality Brandon is talking about. It is a different mentality for closers than it is to any other position in the on the mound. You have your setup guys and you have your eighth inning guys and stuff like that, and you have your closers. It's just a total different mentality. Even Archie Bradley has talked about it. It's just a totally different mentality they have to bring um, every day. When you're a closer, as opposed to a setup guy or any other relief guy. But I think for me, I would rather have Justin Martinez because he had his rookie year last year. He balled out 2.3 ERA or so. Just he did rack up strikeouts. The one thing is just he did give up a lot of hard contact, but a lot of that hard contact was on the ground. It wasn't like
Like Scott,
Seawald
it wasn't like
where
Seawald, yeah, where he's giving up like
it's
near home runs every at bat.
yeah. A lot of those were in the air for Seawald, and they were long long balls that just stayed inside. I saw what game was I watching recently? It might have been one of the Texas games or something like that. It just there was a ball that was hit very, very deep to center, and Alec just made a great catch on it. And I was just like, that would have. Oh, I think it was one of the Dodger games. Even I was like, yeah, that would have been gone Dodger Stadium easily. It was just was able to stay here just because of how deep that part of the stadium is. But someone like J Mart, he has the stuff to be a closer. Um, I don't know if I read right or wrong, but supposedly he was going to work on a changeup or something. I don't know if it was him or somebody else that I read that was maybe working on a changeup. Maybe it was somebody else. I'm not sure. But when you have guys with his sort of stuff, that's who you want to be a closer. And I know we have Puck, but again, with someone like Puck, you can't really name him closer because let's say it's the eighth inning and Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman are coming up. Who do you want there? Like Martinez can get them out, and he did during the season. Or would you rather have Puck, who's the lefty, be able to go against Ohtani, who's a lefty, and then Freddie Freeman, who's a lefty as well? So I don't think you want to waste your most elite left-handed arm right away, or just save him for the end when you have to get to the end first. And so I think maybe Justin Martinez should be the closer, but I don't think Torrey's gonna make that official until maybe a little bit later in spring training if he has to. But Torrey did say like these guys got to earn it, and he's not committed to naming anybody. But Mike Hazen kind of said the complete opposite in an interview where he said that Torrey wants to name a guy as early as possible. So I don't know, maybe it's some sort of gamesmanship on Torrey's part, trying to say the right thing in front of his guys, letting them know this is a battle for the for the closer role, and maybe they want to do a closer by committee, but I don't think closer by committee ever works unless you have the most elite bullpen in the league. Like I think these guys need to have their defined roles. Like you got to know when you're going to be able to come in, when you're not going to come in, if you're going to come in. And as we saw in 2023, as soon as Seawald came in and he had got the established closer role, everybody knew what their role was. None of them were guessing like, damn, am I going to come in the seventh or am I going to come in the ninth? Because that's two different methods of preparation that they have to go through. And I would rather be able to have these guys know their roles. Same with the position players. Like tell position players, like tell Cattell, suddenly, hey, you're center fielder now. That's a totally different mentality to go through. Even though, yeah, he's played there, but doesn't mean he's comfortable there. So I think you have to be able to establish these roles with these guys because they're creatures of habit. Like they prepare a certain way and they got to be ready for a certain way because the seventh inning and the ninth inning are about an hour difference in real time, and they gotta stretch out, they gotta eat, they gotta drink at a certain point for them to be ready to come in either in the seventh or in the ninth. And again, it's an hour. Like that's quite a bit of time to be sitting down or stretching or whatever it is. So I do think you have to establish a closer role as soon as possible. And I can see it being Justin Martinez, but again, with Torrey, you never know until the day comes and he sort of says it, maybe sort of. I don't know. But I don't think they're going to do a trade now. I do think the trade's going to come a lot later in the season. Again, probably at the trade deadline. If let's say Justin Martinez, he's as good as he's doing. If Helsley is just completely dominant, and you're like, damn, we get him, we win the World Series, and I think that's when you pull the trigger, even if it hurts a bit.
Yeah, so you make a good point, but I want to bring up one of our comments here really quick. I didn't see a Passan tweet, but it looks like Josh might have been a little bit earlier than Passan, which is very rare. But he is breaking some news in here. Bregman to the Red Sox on a 3-year, $120 million deal. So I guess Alex Bregman was like a lot of us, and he saw all these videos of pitchers and catchers reporting, and he's got that itch, and he said, "I don't care. Sign me with somebody. I want to be out there on the ball field. I want to be playing." But sorry, just I saw that and I wanted to share the news because it's kind of surprising. Well, we can kind of surprising, at least on that kind of a low of a contract. But I'll get some quick thoughts on your points on the closer role, and then I'll let you get your thoughts in on Bregman really quick. I do agree fully with you. I think that the closer role needs to be established early, whether it's early in spring, maybe a week or two in, or it's just one of those where by the time opening day comes around, you have to have this is my guy. Like you said, in 2023, we saw how well that affected the bullpen. We saw how last year when Seawald was taken out of the closer role, we saw how there are some games where, like you said, if you use your lefty specialist like Puck and a guy that can get out lefties or righties, if you use them too early, then it could hurt the team. If you try to save him for late and then you let a situation in the seventh or eighth inning kind of get away from you, it could, maybe blow the game out of the water to the point where you can't even use Puck in the situation that you wanted to in the eighth or ninth inning. And then even Justin Martinez, like I personally do, I'm very biased. Obviously, I've showed this off. I'm going to show it off every opportunity I can. I'm very biased with my Justin Martinez, love. I want him to be the closer because it just makes this go up in price every time. But I think that even like V makes a great point. J Mart's issues are all things that can be addressed with time and experience. So I think that is something that, especially knowing that he got that confidence under his belt last year, I think going into the season, it'll be, kind of interesting to see. I think he deserves it, but it's one of those where even AJ Puck himself, I don't have the video loaded or the quotes, but I believe he was
I believe
quoted
that
talking.
was the what I was mentioning earlier about J Mart having the champion was AJ Puck. I just got to find the actual article, but yeah, I read it was AJ Puck who said that he's developing a changeup. He technically has one, but he's only used it 1% of the time in his
Trying
career.
to get a
So
little more of a reliable one. Who knows? Maybe he's
yeah,
learning
so
from Merrill because Merrill's changeup, even Burns. Merrill and Burns have
nasty.
some nasty
They have such
changeups.
nasty. And imagine that changeup coming from the left side.
Oh,
Yeah, it's so nasty. And if he gets that closer role, that changeup is going to be key. I think in a lot of situations where if the fastball isn't working, throw that changeup, throw that a sweeper, slider, whatever it is that he has, and I think you're going to be able to get a lot of outs.
yeah, so he's definitely going to have an extra weapon in his arsenal. Would make him even crazier than, or at least I hope that he was in 2024. Because my goodness, was that trade for Mike Hazen a absolute slam dunk in my opinion. Jeff also does bring up a good point in the chat, saying the D-backs bullpen could be all time with J Mart, Puck, Jameson, Ginkel, and Thompson. Jameson is such a dark horse that no one else in baseball is going to see this coming. And I do have a few, like I said, the clip from Dre earlier. I did play it earlier. But it just looks like, obviously him being so back, never been more back. It's nice to see him back on the mound. Uh, I heard from reports that he was touching, I think 97, like 96, 97, which is great to see, even from this like short clip from our man Jack Summers. Shout out Jack King. He looked like he has some pretty decent control. I know it's just a bullpen session, but it's great not to see guys kind of like spike pitches here and there. And then plus the Scooby-Doo cleats are absolutely elite. So if we can have those kind of cleats coming from a closer or whatnot, I think even a guy in the, like how last year you put in J Mart in the sixth, seventh when you need outs. I think Jameson at least could give you a little bit of outs. So who knows, maybe that kind of extends the life of the bullpen to where you don't have to worry about using a guy like Justin Martinez or AJ Puck a little bit earlier than maybe a lot of us would hope. So I think Jeff does bring up a good point. That would be pretty nice to add to this bullpen. Cam does have a question saying Seth Martinez out of options, right? Is he sort of locked up as a middle reliever on the big league roster? That one I think will definitely kind of come into this bullpen positional battle. I'm not too sure where the rest of the bullpen shakes up, especially if Ryan Nelson has an insane spring and you just can't keep him can't keep him off the roster in some sort of aspect. I could see them maybe cutting bait on a guy like Seth Martinez just because his stuff is nowhere near as electric or even effective, in my opinion, as Nelson's. Doesn't really throw as hard. Doesn't seem like he has the same kind of wipeout stuff that Nelson showed in the back half of 2024. So who knows? He's definitely going to be a name to, be interested in, and kind of another name. The nice thing about spring training is we're going to see a lot of these guys in the first like a week or two before they kind of make any cuts. Usually, the only cuts they make are the young rookies they invite to camp, like we talked about in our last episode with Nugget. A lot of those non-roster invitees are probably going to be the names that you hear get cut first before any of these other guys that are already, on the team in the rotation fighting for some of these spots. So definitely be something to kind of look out for as we get in here. But kind
Yeah.
of touching back and circling back to Josh breaking some news here of Bregman to the Red Sox. Our man Gabe, I believe you had a few thoughts and whatnot on Bregman.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say the puck comment I made earlier is from an article on SI.com, the Arizona Diamondbacks, from Alex D'Agostino. It's called Diamondbacks Reliever Developing Pitch in His Arsenal, and goes in how he's trying to develop a changeup. And the article was posted today, 9 hours ago. So go check that out. That article is very interesting. But in terms of Bregman, he was the guy I had penciled in like as a possible candidate for the D-backs, just because uh, Gino, this is his last year here. There's no options. There's no mutual options or anything. As soon as this contract is done, he's probably gone. If he has a season like he did last year, 30 home runs, 250, 100 RBI, the D-backs are not going to be able to get him back for 15 million like they did this year. He's going to get 20. He's going to get 25 million. He's probably going to get a couple more years, even though he is a little bit higher in age. I believe he's 32, 33. He's probably going to look for a little bit longer contract, 3-4 years, and it's just probably going to be more than D-backs are going to be able to pay him. So someone like Bregman was someone I was looking towards, maybe to just bridge that gap between, whenever we have a guy like Lawler, be ready. And I think the problem with Lawler is just I don't feel he's gotten as many opportunities as he probably deserves, but also he just hasn't been able to be healthy as well. Like he's had opportunities and he's just, he's gotten injured and you can't really do much about that. You just kind of have to hold off on him. We don't know what he's truly capable of at the big league level just because he hasn't been able to. But, when he was in Reno, when he was in Double A, even, some of the Winter League, he shows how elite he is on defense. He's so fast. You could probably have a race between him, Corbin, and Dre Jameson, and at that point, I don't know who would win. He's just so quick. He's so fast. He has such a strong arm. He's a true 5-tool player, and I'm excited to see more of him. But Bregman was somebody I thought about. If they're able to get a contract like this one, 3 years, and there's two opt-outs, although not for 120 million, because I don't think Bregman is worth $40 million a year, because that's kind of ridiculous. If it
Yeah,
was
overpay.
25, yeah. So if it was like 75 million or 100 million for 3 or 4 years with a couple of opt-outs, then all right, sure, we might have him for a year or two. Then he opts out and then gets shopped around or something like that, which would have been fine. But at that point, Lawler, Tommy Troy, and other guys, we probably would have been able to have him up at the big league level already. But yeah, I'm I'm surprised about it just because his whole thing this whole offseason was no short-term deals. I want 5-6 years and 200 million and another Boris disaster class again. And we're officially in the first day of spring training, and Alex Bregman finally knows where he's going. I mean, I guess he has a house in Florida already, training with Houston, but I don't know how close that Red Sox and Houston facility is over there, because everybody complains about it. That's the thing they hate about uh, Florida. It's not like here. Like, let's say you're with the Brewers and you practice in Scaryville, or you're the Giants and you practice in Scottsdale. That's about maybe an hour commute, maybe if that, on the team bus.
Yeah, especially with traffic too.
Yeah, with traffic, maybe an hour. And yeah, Florida, if you want to go from, I'll just throw out names out there. If you want to go from the Yankees to the Mets, you're probably going to drive either 8 hours or you got to take a short plane flight. So I know he's probably not happy about that. But again, you got to make these deals quick and these lockouts. Every time I see deals like this, I just keep thinking, man, we're like so close to a lockout in 2026.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that, maybe if it leads to the league getting kind of a salary floor, so then we don't have teams like the Marlins, Cardinals, I think the Brewers as well. Like, there's just some teams that genuinely are not trying, and that's definitely not good for the game. I know we are always very vocal about the Dodgers and like their deferrals. I think it's, both things can be true. The deferrals and all that, not necessarily like, I guess, fair is not the right word because I feel like that's kind of a whiny word to use, but not something that every single team can do, even though that's always the thing that people say is, well, every owner can do this. They can't. But what every owner can do is at least spend more than $0. And that's just what it seems like the Marlins. I feel bad for Marlins fans. It seems like even when they build up a nice core, then they just start penny pinching. They trade away everybody good, and then they just go back to rebuilding every 3 years. It does not matter. The Cardinals, I know they were struggling, but I feel like they would have at least done something to get Helsley or something for Helsley. Like I said, maybe they're just waiting for the deadline. As you said earlier, that's the kind of guy you trade for then. But a lockout would suck, but if it leads to a salary floor, I'm okay on a salary floor. Like, I think that would be pretty solid, just for the sport of baseball in general. But kind of going back and circling back on the Alex Bregman, Jeff makes up a great point here. Oh, where'd it go? There it is. Jeff makes a great point, saying 40 million a year, and you even agreed 40 million a year, and opt outs. Glad the D-backs didn't go that route for that price. Yes, I would have been okay with getting him on a short-term deal that was maybe in the 25 to 30 range at the very most. I know they're already pushing their payroll stuff before they kind of get close to that luxury tax area. But yeah, 40 years for Bregman, that's an overpay, and I guess maybe that makes Scott Boras some money. I know he gets a decent percentage, but yeah, Scott Boras hasn't had the best offseason. He's gotten guys like Corbin Burns some good deals, but then he's had like Monty's last year, Bregman's this year. It seems like teams aren't as willing to bow down to Boras and just let him do whatever he wants when it comes to negotiating with teams. I don't know if it's the owners themselves that are kind of agreeing to some of this, but you know, Oscar, you're saying maybe 40 million a year was too good to pass up. I'm assuming you're saying from like Bregman's side that like, hey, somebody called him and was like, hey, you know what, we'll give you 40 million a year on 3 years. Yeah, it's a short-term deal, but he's like, hey, I'll take 40 million because even if he does stink it up this year, the Red Sox are on hook to pay him another 40 million. Maybe it's like a Jordan Montgomery situation where, thank God, just to put that in perspective, that's almost twice of what Montgomery is being paid. So that's a
Yeah.
little bit of a risky move from the Red Sox, but who knows? Like,
Yeah. I
maybe it
mean,
turns out
it,
well for him. I think he'd do pretty well with the Green Monster. I think the you could hear the banging pretty well from it too. Sorry, I had to throw that in there because it
yeah,
is
I
a giant
think
metal wall.
that's just the perfect stadium for him, just because of how similar it is to Minute Maid, just with that short porch. I know the monster's huge, but all you gotta do is just his swing is made for that sort of stadium. So everyone's talking about the Cubs. Just that his swing, he would be batting 240 in Chicago,
He'd be a
just
doubles
because.
machine. He'd be Alec
Yeah,
Boehm basically.
maybe. You would hope so, because I mean, that's what people said about Cody Bellinger there too. Just like, oh, it's a shorter porch, this or that. But the balls just die in summer and late spring. It's just with that wind tunnel that it creates, it's just really hard to get the ball out of there and to get real good lift on them. Um, but I do think this is a good deal. I mean, it is a good deal for Bregman at the end of the day because again, 40 million. He just made $40 million for one season and two opt outs. Supposedly, we don't know. I think yet what the opt outs are looking like. I don't know if it's mutual or if it's his opt outs. Um, but if he has a great year, he gets back to where he was before. Let's see, 40 million is 10. Yeah, okay. So it just seems to be uh, even deferred money as well.
Yeah, I don't see
But
Jeff didn't mention anything about deferred money in the deal.
yeah, so it's just one of those things where at least with Bregman, again, $40 million, it is hard to pass up, at least for one season. If he goes out there and he balls out, he maybe gets some MVP votes, goes back on the market again. He's relatively young, he's not super old. Maybe he does get those 4 years, and maybe it's a lower annual value. Like, let's say it's 30 million for 4 years. That's still another 120 million, right? yeah, 120, or maybe he can get up to 5 years, 150 million. So he still ends up getting around $200 million for his career or whatever it is. So I guess it's mutually beneficial. But again, I'm glad the D-backs didn't do it because 40 million is a lot of money, and they're already pushing towards the $200 million mark, and 40 million I think is too much. Or even for Ken Kendrick, although I've said before these owners can't spend, but I don't know about giving a guy $40 million a year.
Who knows? Maybe the money they saved on Bregman, they immediately hung up on Boris when they heard if they were in contacts with him. Which again, there's no reports. This is kind of just all us speculating and hoping and wishing as fans. Maybe they hit up Boris and they're like, "Hey, man, pivot to Zach. Let's give this 40 million that we could have given to him. Let's give 30 of it to Zach. Let's bring him back." Like for the desert, obviously he's not going to sign an extension now, but maybe they're starting to work those conversations early. That's like, hey, let him know we're willing to put that Bregman money into his bank account. So,
Yeah, I
maybe
think
not.
Jeff, you said the Pirates haven't signed a free agent to a multi-year deal in 10 years. Yeah, I saw that. I think the last guy they gave was like in 2015 for multi-years.
Was it
Fans are saying like,
Liriano?
oh, well, that's not true. But it's like, yeah, it is. In terms of free agency, yeah, they have extended guys before, but they haven't signed anybody to more than a year. Like
Yeah,
same,
extensions and
like the
signings are
three or
way
four
different.
guys. Yeah, the three or
You
four
got to
guys that they
supplement
got
your
this year,
roster.
like McCutcheon, they signed like three or four guys, but it was just short 1 year contracts, and it's all guys who are like 37 years old. So
The
the
Pirates are also
Pirates
the
out of
same team that did that manipulation of the at bats incentive stuff with Rowdy Tellez, where they kind of screwed him
yeah,
out of like 500,000. Which for a baseball team, 500,000, you guys were willing to give somebody 30 years worth of season tickets for a fucking baseball card that's like not even a 500,000. Like I get it's a scheme. Like sorry, Pirates are a joke. That's a whole rant. I can go on another one. Their organization is run in an absolute clown show, but
yeah,
yeah, so kind of circling back into some more D-backs talk. I know obviously we went on a little tangent there. Not too often you get some breaking news on the pod. Gotta, especially when like Gabe said, it's a guy that we've mentioned a lot throughout the offseason as a guy that we'd be not upset about them signing. But after seeing that money, oh boy, I would have been pissed off if we overpaid $40 million a year for Alex Bregman. But circling back into some more D-back stuff, I know we've already talked about obviously and gone in depth on two of the battles that we're going to see a bunch of, whether or regards of the starting rotation and the bullpen. But there is a little bit more of a battle going on among the D-backs and the players when it comes to some of the infield decisions. Obviously, Kevin Newman is no longer on the team. He went to, I believe, the Angels. They snagged him up, which rightfully so. Good for Newman. He had a really solid year. I know he didn't get like a Bregman payday, but good on him to kind of cash in and get at least something good out of it. But this is a video that we recorded and everything. This kind of ties into the other position that people are going to be battling in. We don't necessarily know who the other backup infielder is going to be. I know they have Ildemaro Vargas. I know there's a few other names that were on there that are definitely going to be in play. But the three in this video that I thought were interesting was Jordan Lawler getting some reps at short, which even to Gabe's point earlier, he has not had the proper chance. I feel like to earn a spot. I know last spring Tori came out right off the bat and said Domo was a starter, which last year made a little more sense. I get it, not the a spot really fully open for him, but I feel like he still deserves it. He was getting reps at short with Domo at second, which is a little interesting to me. Who knows? Maybe we see a little more of the future. Maybe something opens up for Jordan because, like Gabe even said earlier, Jordan is a superstar in the making. He's got some tools that you don't really see too often, and there's a reason why he was drafted where he was. And then Naylor and Pavin over there at first base, but there is multiple positional battles, obviously, throughout the entirety of spring that we're going to be bringing you guys coverage here on. Whenever there's updates, whenever we get some videos, we're going to try to make it out to a few open practices where, kind of like today where fans are allowed in, which I believe for anybody wondering, anybody that has days off during the week or just in general, if you got a day off, if you have time in the morning, they do allow fans into the backfields to where you can kind of see other players. Cause like even mentioned today, not only a lot of the attention's on the main field, the main bullpens last year when we were out there, me and Josh, our lovely producer, who's having himself a little early Valentine's Day. So shout out Josh and his wife. Hope you guys enjoy your evening. But last year we went out there and we were able to get, a bunch of kind of behind the scenes access. Like we went to the backfields and we saw Jordan Lawler, Christian Robinson, Jock Peterson was just signed not a day or two before spring, kind of got underway with pitchers and catchers reporting, and he was out in the backfield taking some hacks. Like same with Jake McCarthy, Pavin Smith. Like there's a lot going on. So if you guys have the chance, make your way down to Salt River Fields. It is, I believe, open from like 9 to around 12 is when they close
Yeah,
it out. I'm not too sure. The time might change
yeah,
this
9 to
year.
12.
Yeah, 9 to 12. So if you guys are available, go do it. It's really cool. It's a great opportunity to get some signatures. Right up in there we go. And here I had to figure out which one. That baseball in the middle, I got signed by like Drew Jones, a bunch of other D-backs that were there last year. So it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity to get some stuff signed here and there. So make your way out there. But uh, what's going to be the positional or position, at least positional battle, whether it's the rotation, bullpen, or the final infield spot or spots uh, that the D-backs are going to have on the docket? Which one are you going to keep your eye closely locked on as we, approach games and as we get closer to opening day on March 27th?
So I guess first of all, I just want to say I think I'll be there Monday. As far as I know, I don't have any plans for Mondays, but it's President's Day or something. I'm not sure what it is. Can't keep track of these holidays, but I just know I have Monday off, so I'll probably be down there. Hopefully, I'm able to get some video and share it on the pod for everybody. But um, yeah, I think other than second base, I don't think any position is. I mean, I guess it is truly a lock for guys like Naylor, Perdomo, and Gino. But I think a guy like Pavin is just Pavin. Yeah, Pavin. Jordan Lawler, I think if he makes a lot of noise, if he comes into spring and he bats 400, I don't see how you keep him down. I don't see how you don't put him on this major league roster. I don't see how you don't give him, at least 400 at bats this season. And I know a lot of people say, maybe he can be the Kevin Newman role. Kevin Newman played maybe once a week and he was already a veteran, so he knew how to manage that sort of workload. But Jordan Lawler, I think it would be really, really bad for his development to put him down in the minor leagues. Uh Not in minor leagues, to put him in once a week. I think that's really bad for his development. So should either start in minor leagues or you put him up, he has to play. And he has to play 4 to 5 days out of the week, and so that position for him would be third base and second. Yeah, it's maybe second. I don't know. That's the thing. It's just with the DH not being a lockdown thing with Jock Peterson and Randall Grichuk, it's open for Josh Naylor, Pavin Smith, Ketel Marte, Gino, and Jordan Lawler. Like there's 5 or 6 guys who can take days on that DH spot. Like it's more fluid than it was last year. So I think for me, it's not so much the position as it is a player to look out for. And Jordan Lawler is a guy you have to look towards. I mean, he's a great defender. He can't play third. Can't play short. He can't play second. I still think maybe if they have a different guy in mind for third base or shortstop, try him out at first. He's 6'4". He's very tall. He's very athletic. If anybody can make the transition from shortstop to first base, it's Jordan Lawler. And because again, we don't have a first baseman in the future. The only one we have is Pavin Smith, and I don't trust Pavin Smith to be out there shagging ground balls day in and day out for the next 3 years or so. Lawler still is under team control for the next 6 years at least. So try him out there, see what he has. And I know in that clip he's taking ground balls at shortstop. So maybe he's gonna get more time to be out there because I mentioned it even last year when we had this, the same pod. I didn't like that Lavello came out and just said Perdomo is taking over the shortstop position. He just straight out said there is no competition. Perdomo is the shortstop. And I think up until that point, he hadn't really deserved it. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. I thought it should be at least a little bit of a battle, and Jordan Lawler ended up getting hurt, so that ended the conversation. So this year again, if Perdomo is looking all right, he's taking his walks like he always does. He maybe just takes a step forward, but Jordan Lawler is just making incredible plays. He's batting 400. I don't want to see a Chris Bryant on the Cubs situation where they send him down and bring him up a couple weeks later, being like, "Oh yeah, he just had to work on his defense or whatever." So put him out there. I want to see him. Put in the outfield. I don't know. I just want to see Jordan Lawler, and I just hope he has a great year.
Yeah, so Lawler is definitely a guy that I'm always a fan of, especially when he drafted. He's another guy, maybe not as heavily like I am with Justin Martinez, but I definitely have a few Lawler cards up in the top of my thing here. So financially, I want him to succeed, but also just for the D-backs future and the hype and just seeing, he seems like a very great, just great player, great person. Can't say great kid because I'm not that much older than him. It feels weird saying that. I'm not that age yet where I can just refer to every young baseball player as a kid. But it seems like a great dude. Me personally, I'm like I totally get the idea of putting him at first, but I feel like his speed at short, and I feel like I don't have his scouting sheet in front of me. I don't know exactly what his arm is on the, you know, 20 to 80 scale. So I don't know if it's like close to like Jeff's comment here. Bringing up like Blaze Alexander having an 80 grade arm. I don't know if it's as strong as Blaze, but I still feel like Lawler would be, at least in my opinion, still better suited for third or for short, and then if not third, just because of the arm. It does seem like he has a pretty strong one. And on the topic of Blaze and Jeff's comments, it would be, it's nice. I know we already have enough outfielders, especially with Corbin, Jake, Alec, Gurriel, and now Gritchick coming back. So it's definitely going to be harder for Blaze. I feel like he's going to be kind of a guy left out that who knows? Maybe they try to work out a trade. Maybe they just send him down to the minors to start the year. Not too sure, but he does have a cannon, so maybe he does kind of add a little something to the outfield that we don't already have with a guy that can actually throw people out. But Lawler, I do agree. Lawler is a guy that you can't treat him like Kevin Newman. You can't give him a utility role where he only starts like, maybe once or twice a week with like a few pinch hits here and there. Like that doesn't do his development any good. And if he does hit like 400, I think he'll have to force his way to the roster. My guess is going to be that he does probably hit, even if he hit like he would have to hit, in my opinion, 350, 400 to stay up, but they're probably going to let him get extended time facing more spring training. Maybe they'll keep him up on the spring training roster as we get closer to opening day, because that's usually when you see more MLB ready pitchers. Whereas in the first few weeks, like I said earlier, you kind of see a lot of prospects, a lot of guys that have like they got like the step right below the MLB level, but they're not quite there to where maybe you can get some more at bats against some more established big leaguers and kind of get his confidence up and you know give the team a reason, like you said. I hope it's not a Chris Bryant situation where they're just sending him down. Thankfully, they don't seem like they're going to do service time manipulation like the Cubs did with Bryant. But it's still one of those where I'd rather have him at least still get consistent playing time in Reno than be stunted up here and only play once or twice a week. But it's definitely going to be. I think next year will be the season where we see at least him on the opening day roster, whether that's slotting Perdomo over to second, kind of bringing Cattell more into a DH role, even though I know he is really happy playing second base. He still wants to play the field, so it's going to be hard to pry him away from that position. But I think that there's got to be a position that you can make available for Lawler at some point, whether it is like Gabe said, throwing him at first. It's got to be something. You got to eventually get him on this roster because he's crushed, maybe not crushed it in terms of like we saw like Juan Soto when he was crushing minor league pitching and stuff, where he only played like 70 games in the minors combined before he got called up. But he's been doing really good in the minors, barring all the injuries that he's had. If he can stay healthy, he can be solid. I think you got to find a spot for him, whether that's, this year or obviously next year. But I think my eye is mostly going to be trained in on probably the bullpen, just because that's the area where I feel like we'll either win or lose a lot of games this year, because we've even said earlier the depth in the rotation. We kind of have that there. So whether a guy goes down or not, we should be fine. The bullpen, I feel like, is going to be like even a guy that we even mentioned earlier, Bryce Jarvis. Like maybe he has a nice bounce back. He has some pretty solid stuff. He can be at least an innings eater out there. If Ryan Nelson gets moved over there, Kyle Backus, Kyle Ament, like there's a lot of names that I feel like are going to be at least maybe not fighting for the closer role, but a name and a guy that could at least work their way into the bullpen. And that's kind of what I'm going to be keeping my eye on, because I mean, I love the chains the D-backs have had where, back in the day, their bullpen were, crafty guys like Ziegler, like Chafin, uh, where we never really had a fireballer. Where now if we can get J Mart, Puck throws pretty hard. He's not throwing 100, but Puck, kind of hucks that thing in there. Nelson, if he can, like even Gabe said earlier, unlock something to get himself another tick or two up on his velo, I think that'd be even a nice addition to have out there. Like there's going to be a lot of names that personally interest me when it comes to the bullpen. And Gabe, it
Yeah.
looks like if you're going to be there Monday, Josh, if he can get out of work, he'll be out there too. So if you guys see either Gabe or Josh or even me, whether it's at any of these workouts or even when we get into spring training games, always, feel free to stop, say hi, chat us up. We love talking to you guys. Like, we want to meet you guys as well. So if you ever see us out there, I know I'm probably the easiest one to distinguish out of all of it. There's not too many guys that have all the crazy hats, but shout out to the wife. She got me this pretty sweet D-back spring training hat. It's got the scorpion on the side, spring training, nice, cool design. So not too many guys out there that have a bunch of funky hats with long hair and glasses, but Gabe and Brandon and Josh are still pretty easy to see and point out. So if you ever see any of us out there, don't feel shy. Say hi, say what's up. We want to meet you guys. But want to get back to some comments here before we get into the next point, which we have, again, two more things. Again, join the Discord. That'll be important in a minute here. You guys are going to want to know that information. But Jeff's saying that with Gritchick, the team isn't going to be able to carry Jake and Alec. One will have to go to Reno. Tori mentioned looking for a super utility, either Hampton or Hampson or Blaze. Rockies legend Garrett Hampson is obviously on this team here for at least a non-roster invite. So he could be a guy that maybe he does slot in the Kevin Newman role, and we see guys like Jordan Lawler, Blaze, Alec, one of those guys go down to the minors. Not too sure, but hey, you know what? This is what spring training's all about, baby. We're here to yap, like Josh is saying, legit yap with you all day. We'll yap here all day about any kind of speculation because at least we have something to talk about now. It's not just like, oh, what trade, what signing, this, that. It's actual baseball we can talk about and actually get ready for the season. So this is going to be some fun, and we're glad that you guys are here. But the last thing that at least stuck out to me from day one of pitchers and catchers reporting, pitchers and catchers doing all this, I'm going to play this video here for you guys. If you guys notice anything, I know this was in the Discord, a lot of people online as well. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you see this video? Obviously, this is a video for PHNX. Shout out Derek Montilla for getting us this video. Posted on Twitter, but it was a big topic all of last season. It's something that everyone was giving them shit for. Everyone was like, man, I wanted to buy one of these new jerseys. But oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, the big lettering is back. We are so back. It's insane that that's something that we as fans care that much about. Like, even when I was talking with my coworker, he's like, how sad is it that we care that much about lettering on jerseys? But to people that don't watch the game as much or aren't as into baseball and as baseball nutty as we are, it was bothersome. You had to use binoculars. Jerseys just looked weird. It looked like Little League jerseys. Like when the D-backs do their Little League sponsored jerseys, that's what it looked like. The fonts were so tiny.
I mean, they
But
look like the iron-on patches or something that you get like secondhand. Like that's something that it looks so weird. It looked like somebody was like whispering or something like that. It was just
yeah,
so weird. Like you see Moreno, like no, that's Moreno. Like do something.
yeah.
I don't know. I hated it. I hated it so much. Like I wanted to buy a jersey last year, especially that black one with somebody's name on it, and I was just like, maybe I'll just wait. Although I think maybe I know you can return it if they trade a player or and get like a new player. I don't know if they're gonna do the same for these. Like if you can take off the patches and then they can put in a new one. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, so the nice thing, a lot of the jerseys, like because I got one of the authentic ones, and I've always wanted an authentic like jersey stitch name. Last year seemed like they only had either for replicas or authentics the screen press, so at least those are easy to get off. If they have the stitch options in these big letters, oh, you already know I'm getting a name on this bad boy, or at least going to buy one of the replicas with the big names, whether it's stitched or not. Like you kind of already actually addressed my question, so at least I got your answer. But for you guys that are listening in the chat and listening to after the show, I'm curious your thoughts. First off, are the nameplates an over-exaggerated thing for baseball fans to even care about? And then are you going to get a jersey now that they actually have the larger nameplates back? I know I was holding off on getting I really want one of the black with the teal. Those just look so good. So I'm definitely going to kind of eye one of those, especially when I get there on opening day for the Cubs game. Going to maybe get myself a little early dad present before my son's here, because not too many games I'm going to be able to go to after that. So maybe at least something to rock around the house. But I know I'm definitely going to be looking to get a new jersey, and I think that maybe it's to somebody that's not a baseball fan, it's crazy. I think the nameplate thing and being hyped about it is very reasonable because it's something where if the jerseys are good for the players and it makes it more breathable, cool. But something about the fan aspect and like the fan enjoyment out of it with seeing like I can actually be in right field and see who the fuck is on second base. I can actually, be up in my seats and actually see who the hell's on deck without having to fully know the number. Like if it's an opposing team, I can actually be like, "Oh, I can read what that player name," versus being like, I'm just gonna Google who number, 23 or 47 or whoever the number is on this team is because I literally cannot read what their name is."
Yeah. So I mean, I did buy the black one last year, I think for Black Friday. So, ooh, wait, yeah, okay, yeah, I did. So I have the black one. I don't know if I'll get a player yet. Maybe the white one. I do really like that white one. I wish they would have kept the teal white one. That's probably my favorite jersey in the last few years. But I have that one. But I think if I had to get a player, it probably would just be like Marte or Carroll, just because I know they're going to be here long term. But if I could, I would probably just get Alex, name and number on the back. But I don't know yet. I have to see in person how they start looking again. But I mean, the players aren't. They complain too. It's not just us, and on the Twitter sphere who's complaining. It was a lot of people, actual players, who complaining about the way they looked, the way they felt, the fact that you would sweat and they would just get drenched, and so it would be like a two-tone jersey because Brandon Fogg would be having maroon and red on his jersey because of the sweat, and then you have guys showing their entire dongs hanging out and their outlines and everything. Like nobody wants to see that. Like you could see the pockets as well the through the pants. Like it was so bad last year, and I'm glad they made those adjustments. But I guess how Jeff said, like as long as Corbin Burns and Zach Gallen are going out there every single day, or every single outing, that is what matters at the end of the day. Like we could have jerseys as ugly as like the Tampa Bay Rays. Like as long as we're competing, that is really what matters. I'll rep them. If our jerseys were ugly as hell, I would still rep them just because I want to see a winner, and at least we have some badass jerseys. And I think so far the league is probably going to catch up to our look as well. And yeah, I'm just excited to see the numbers back to normal again. And I don't have to squint either, especially because I don't take my glasses every time when I go to the stadium. So if I can't read the name on the jersey for the opposing team, I have to like really like either look it up or look at the big scoreboard and just see like, all right, so who's this dude?
Yeah, same. I mean, I still usually look at the scoreboard, but at least it's nice to, have the names back because I love the Majestic jerseys, but I'm not gonna lie, those Majestic jerseys those were thick. Those felt like I was putting
They're
on.
heavy.
They're heavy. Like I feel like they don't breathe as well. Like that's why like again, this is the authentic one. Shout out mom for the Christmas present last year, MVP. But like this one genuinely feels nice. Especially we all know how hot it can be in Chase Field. These are so nice just even in the stands, so I can't imagine how the players feel. We're like, yes, even if they soak up sweat and they look like two-tone, some of the players don't give a shit. I know Merrill Kelly mentioned multiple times he had to change jerseys a few times last year just because of how much he was still sweating in them and how much they were like it they might make the player cool, but everybody sweats. You know what I'm talking about when like you sweat in something, it still stays like wet and kind of soaked for a little while. We're like, it's just not fun to wear around. So if we can get a nice win-win where players don't have to worry about it anymore, even like there was a funny video from the D-backs today where they're doing like the I'm passing the mic. I think it was Ryan Thompson's like I'm passing the mic with the guy with the either the nicest butt or the biggest butt on the team, and then he passes it to Brandon Fott.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a funny clip. But yeah, say maybe we won't have to worry about seeing the outlines in their pockets as much as we did last year. But it is just kind of funny that pretty much every single baseball fan, that was the thing going around on Twitter today, where everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's actually real." They tweeted or they like teased it in some of like the Burns presser. You can kind of see it there where the numbers were actually full size and regular again. It's every team has it. It's nice. That's how you know baseball's fully back, man. We're so here, we're so back. But something that is also back for the third year in a row, that I've kind of teased it a little bit here in the Discord or about being in the Discord and why you want to join here. This is why. So on this upcoming Saturday, February 15th, The D-backs are hosting for the third year in a row. You guys know, they took away the Fan Fest, which was basically free entry to anybody, and they've now replaced it with an Advantage member, basically like Advantage member only MV party is what they're calling it, where you can get, opportunities to get photo ops, get stuff signed by players. I believe that's usually where they have the teaser for the first giveaways for the year. I know last year they had all over the screens, like the bobblehead, the T-shirt, the ring, things like that. That's where they kind of first showed it off. And also the Q&A, where not only can you guys get a chance to just hear from the players, you have a chance to ask questions. Where like they will hand the mic to people in the crowd. It's a great environment, great time for any D-back fan. I highly encourage you guys either become season ticket members if you have the option. If you know somebody that's a season ticket member and they have some extra tickets, maybe try to hit them up. But if you guys don't want to worry about that, join the Discord, because Discord members are getting access to, or at least going to have the chance to win a free ticket, as we have 3 extra tickets. Myself, Gabe, Brandon, Josh, and Gabe's brother Oscar are all going to be there on Saturday, all going around getting videos. I'm going to try to get a little, spoiler. I'm going to try to get something signed by as many people there as I can to do a little giveaway for you guys. So make sure you guys join the Discord. It is in the description. And I believe, Gabe, I don't remember where we talked about it in the group chat or what day we confirmed, but I think it's going to be sometime Friday or sometime early Saturday. I believe Friday, because I think it's like Saturday at 12 or even a little earlier when the MV party starts. We are going to give away 3 tickets to the MV party for you guys to be able to get access to it. So you guys can come on down to Chase Field, maybe meet up with us, get some photos with not just us, but even some D-backs players as well, and just, kind of soak in the festivities, because there's, especially if you guys end up going in the future, if they still have it in the future, that is, there's things for kids to do, there's face painting, there's a lot of things for every D-backs fan of any age. That's just an absolute blast. So like I said, join the Discord. We are going to be announcing and giving away 3 tickets to 3 people, or 1 ticket to each, 1 ticket to 3 people. So 3 tickets available. Great opportunity to get a little behind the scenes access and kind of have a little party with the rest of the D-backs fans and the players.
Yeah.
So Gabe, I know you went last year. What are some of your thoughts? I know you weren't there for the whole time, but last year, what are some of your thoughts, and what are you hoping to see them kind of improve upon this year?
Yeah, I felt it was slightly rushed in a way last year, but I think overall it should be a lot better this year. I mean, we have Corbin Burns. It should be a lot more exciting than it was last year. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's really fun time just to go walk around the stadium. Like it's still a little bit full, but it's not as full as it normally is. Being able to walk around, you can get some glizzies, get some beer and stuff like that, and just walk around, enjoy yourself, take your sweet ass time. And the weather should be really nice on Saturday, so if they open the stadium, it should feel really nice when you're in there. And being able to have access to the interviews with the players, I think, is probably the most valuable part of this valuable party, because the team they didn't put out any actual full video of their interviews. I believe they just tweeted out clips. And if you look back a year ago, we did post the entire interviews with these guys. So we'll probably do that again this year. So if you're not able to go, just know that we're number one in coverage of the MV party, because media wasn't allowed there. So even certain, certain places like 98.7, PHNX, none of them posted full videos because they didn't have the same media access. And so we'll be posting here. And the D-backs didn't have any problem with us posting entire videos of the actual event. So we're probably just going to post the whole thing again. And then on Saturday, I believe we will record an episode to give our thoughts, and, should be fun.
Yes, and not only do they do the Q&A, some of the things that I forgot is, at least last year, I think they usually do the same thing again, but they do have a chance for you to tour the dugout as well, kind of get like,
Mm.
You go in on one end, get to walk through the D-backs home dugout, get to see the players' clubhouse, get to see, kind of some of the behind the scenes things that the players get to do, look at the lockers, be in the locker room, kind of see all the fun things. it's genuinely a blast. It's just great environments, great vibes. It's really kind of it gets you it takes your level. If your excitement level is already at 10, it basically breaks the meter and almost doubles that to a 20. It'll get you just absolutely amped up. The team shop is open too, so if you guys don't want to worry about going in on opening day and having to worry about the huge crowd that usually is there on opening day, there's a great chance to go in then. Sometimes they have some deals, sometimes they don't. But even like Gabe said, get yourself some glizzies, get yourself some drinks, walk around, enjoy the festivities. With the roof open, the beautiful weather, it's just an absolute blast. And to Gabe's point, even like last year, is not on like not many people were doing like recordings or were trying to like just post anything. We have a whole setup. We have like a person up top getting the actual video. We have a person up closer getting all the audio recordings, mesh them together. We're putting in the extra mile here because we do think it's something that is definitely cool to, again, even if you guys can't go, if you guys don't win, at least you can still see some of the response to some of the questions. I personally hope there's a lot less Dodger related questions this year because everybody
Yeah.
last year just wanted to ask everything about beating the Dodgers and Dodgers this, Dodgers that. And it was like, guys, this is a D-back. Like, I don't care if you ask them, like, give us some like Granky level things where it's like, why'd you choose to sign with the D-backs or why'd you want to come here? I don't care if you ask that. Just please, no Dodger related shit. Like, please,
Also,
just
let's ban that kid who asked Jock Peterson what it was like playing on the Dodgers. Needs to
yeah.
get kicked out.
I know it's a kid and I, try to be as nice as possible, but it's also one of those where I'm like,
F them kids. No.
yeah. Maybe just keep it a little bit more D-back centralized. But again, join the Discord is a Discord exclusive. We're gonna put out a little tweet probably after the show. As well. Like obviously I know it's kind of somewhat of a late notice. We were finalizing all the details on like who's going, how we're getting all these and all that. But we are putting out a tweet. So if you guys are listening afterwards, the tweet should have the link to the Discord. If not, I know a lot of you guys are already in there, like Jeff, Cam V, I know a good amount of you guys that are listening are probably already in there, but if you're not, again, join the Discord. That is where we are picking our winners from. Kind of a little change of pace from the usual like Twitter following because sometimes there's so many bots on there and whatnot that we don't want to, worry about like some random person that's not even like if you're out of state, it's not like you deserve it, not like you're not a D-backs fan, but we want to give you guys that do have the opportunity that can go obviously that do support our show as well. We want to, kind of give a little bit of a love back to you guys.
And
So
I
that
believe
is
it
your
should be a
opportunity.
raffle, right? It's a raffle. I don't think we're picking. We're not doing like favorites or anything. I believe it should be a
No, it's
raffle.
like a randomizer or something like that. I
Yeah.
think it's nothing that like, oh, if you're super nice to us, like you guys can be nice to us, you can be mean to us. Basically, the picking is out of our control. It's just to get entered into the giveaway, you got to be in the Discord. That's basically all it is. But again, we're gonna put out a tweet with a little bit more information, probably tomorrow morning or at least tomorrow afternoon. So again, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, and kind of keep an eye out for that information as we get a little bit closer. Yeah, say Josh saying, yeah, geez Louise, let me hand out some questions to the fans. Yeah, say at least vet the questions a little bit, man. At least vet the questions because it's be crazy. And then just saying you guys need to promise to boo anyone who has to dodge related question, even if it's a kid. Oh, well, people booed him. People
Yeah.
definitely
We
booed, and they
got
were
booed.
like not like rude booing where they're like, you're fucking stupid. But they were definitely like, you
A
got
lot of
boos, you
hisses,
got
I think.
a lot of faces like,
More hisses. Yeah.
really? Like, are we really gonna ask this question right here? Yes, V. No mercy even for the children. I'm just kidding. It's a family friendly environment. We're gonna keep it family friendly, but just no Dodger questions. Keep it D-backs related, please. Yeah, Cruz doesn't get one though. Our resident Dodgers troll, he's already out of the bidding. He's out of the running because even if he did win one, he'd probably make some joke about poverty this, poverty that. It's just nah. He's out of the running. Still love you, Cruz, if you're listening. But you probably wouldn't want to go anyway. But if you D-backs fans, like I said, join the Discord. We'll be announcing those guys, I believe, or the winners, and who all gets a ticket on Friday as well. So make sure you're in the Discord so you have your chance to enter in the giveaway. But again, thank you very much for you guys joining us. Before we get out of here, Gabe, any kind of final thoughts? I know we discussed a lot of things tonight, like the starting rotation, bullpen, other positional battles, jerseys, all that. Anything else that you maybe didn't touch on before we say goodbye to all the people?
I guess I mean we didn't really talk about Ginkle too much, but Ginkle deserves a shout out in general for the bullpen. He has a shot at the closer role. Tori mentioned him as well. Like he has closed quite a few games for them before, so he could be one of the candidates for the closer. or even closer by committee, Puck, J-Mart, Ginkle, the law firm. But yeah, it's excited to see that, and excited to see everybody back, especially there's going to be back tomorrow. So I don't think we're going to do a pod tomorrow, but just keep it tuned in here. Keep out on the look on Twitter when we announce new shows, because there should be a lot more news coming up. We should be able to start recording 3 episodes ish, 2 to 3 episodes a week, depending on what happens. We will start, probably won't cover spring training as much as the regular season, but when there's cuts going on, where if somebody big gets cut or they trade, just keep it tuned in. We'll be one of the first ones to talk about it, because some other places they are still going to record for once a week, I believe, and we'll go live. God damn it!
Goddamn right. Fuck it, we'll do it live. But yeah, so like Gabe said, tune on in. Keep it, follow us here. Make sure keep notification bells on. So whenever, even if you don't have a Twitter, at least on the notification bells, you guys do get that little pop up that whenever we are live. But yeah, say we're maybe not going to be doing the 2-3 streams a week for spring training unless there's actual some big news, but we are going to be ramping up, especially as we get closer to regular season. We're going to do we're going to try to be a little bit, not like we were inconsistent last year, but we're going to try to push a little bit more, give you guys a few more shows throughout the week, so you guys can, obviously, we like to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions. We like having you guys part of our shows. It's a blast. That's why we do it. Like, we don't have a financial backing. We're not doing this to make money. We're not here to sell you guys ads. We're not here to sell you guys Discord membership services for $75 a fucking year, and then cutting the person that brings that behind the scenes coverage and gets you the media access. Sorry, that still pisses me off. So we're doing this just because we love talking ball. We love talking D-backs ball specifically, and we always like to have engagement from you guys. It just makes this entire thing a blast. So spring is going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of content from it, but especially in the regular season, make sure you guys are here, because it is going to be a wild and fun 2025. But I've been Brett. It's been my man Gabe. Brandon is out for tonight, but he should be back for our Saturday show. Hopefully, potentially even have Josh here for the rare 4 D-backs Dispatch members on one show. I know it doesn't happen too much because Josh does a lot of behind the scenes work. But again, appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Discord. Check out everything over on AZ Snakepit as well. And then always remember that we are here. We are so back. We have never been more back. We are so goddamn D-back. We'll see you on the next episode of D-backs Dispatch.
It's the D-backs Dispatch. Let's go. Yeah. Brandon, Red Gabe, Josh on the floor. West Coast vibes, catch us on the air. Home run dogs, diamond gems we share. Brandon was a stat, Caesar man was a plan. Red brace it down, Chelsea like it is, man. Gabs on fire, brings the heat every time. Josh on the mix, keep the beat so prime. I got the insight, 7 weeks ahead. Tune in, D-backs Dispatch, this is it. Now we rollin'. D-backs Dispatch, yeah. Trumpet Brandon Gabe, this is Big Catch. Josh on the mix, he makes a piece. West Coast vibe, got the G fucking the bad. The home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-backs Dispatch, we here to stay. Yeah, catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it. We got the home Mac, the home Mac, the home Mac, home Mac. D-backs Dispatch, we here to stay. Catch us every week, we bring the flavor to it.